It's a podcast where we talk about the business, our business, All-Star Veterinary Clinic, the family, and the many shenanigans involved. We've been on a 2-week hiatus, so welcome back. You can catch us most Mondays around 10:30 to 11. And if you don't catch us live, you can catch us on any of the podcast channels. So iTunes, Spotify,
Google Podcasts. Don't forget to check out the merch store at aspcmerch.com. And we have special guests here today. So, Richie, you want to introduce Dr. Jones? Dr. Jones is with us today. She's one of our newest associate veterinarians. Dr. Jones is a native of Ohio and graduated from St. George's University in 2013 with her DVM. She earned her bachelor's in zoology from Miami University in Ohio. Her favorite aspects of veterinary medicine are educating clients, forming relationships with clients and patients, and helping patients improve their quality of life. She also enjoys orthopedics, internal medicine, dermatology, and surgery. She is a member of the AVMA, IVMA, and AAEP. Dr. Jones enjoys spending time with family and friends, horseback riding, 3-day eventing, swimming, and being outside. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Jones.
Thanks for having me.
So when I first hired you, I went to Harrison and I said, Harrison, isn't Jessica Jones a superhero? And right, Harrison? Yes. And he said, yes, Mom, she is. And I was like, okay. So that's where we got that question. Did you know Jessica Jones is a superhero?
I did know Jessica Jones was a superhero.
Yes. So
I did.
I thought that was pretty exciting. I mean, I'm just saying that's probably what got you the job. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, good. Thank goodness.
No, I'm just kidding. But it is one of a very cool Netflix show.
It is.
Right,
cool
Harrison?
Netflix show, yeah.
It's a Netflix show, yeah.
She's pretty kick butt.
Yeah, she is pretty kick butt. She's like a detective, right,
Yeah.
Harrison?
Mm-hmm. And she's super strong.
And she's super strong, because that's why I asked you that question. Because when we sent out the email to let all the staff know things about her, one of the things was, and are you super strong? No one got that, I think, except Dr. Jones and myself. We thought it was really clever.
Inside joke.
Yeah.
Inside comment.
So you've been here. Let's see here, going on 6 weeks, 8 weeks,
so.
something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
So, and how do you like it so far?
I love it. This is a fantastic place to be.
Well, you couldn't say anything else, right? Because
Right.
I'm sitting right in front of you. No, I'm just kidding.
It's the truth. I promise.
So, tell us a little bit about your background and where you went to undergraduate school, and then how you got interested in veterinary medicine.
Awesome. So I went to Miami of Ohio for my undergraduate. I got a major in zoology. It was fantastic. I actually minored in Spanish too and studied abroad in Spain. That was amazing.
Wow.
It was really, really cool.
So do you and Anna talk to each other?
I haven't told Anna that.
Oh, no, now I'm telling her. Look out. Oh, we are totally going to tell her. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
She would probably enjoy that.
Yes, she would. Yeah.
She's so sweet. But yeah, so I majored in zoology there. I applied to vet school my first year when I was a senior, and I didn't get into vet school. So I thought, hey, I need to look for some alternatives, and that's where I found St. George's. But yep, I spent my time at Miami University for 4 years, and it was a fantastic place to be.
So you liked it as an undergraduate school?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people from Indiana that graduated with Harris. I mean, that was a school of choice.
Oh, Miami?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Dayton,
It's
too.
beautiful campus. So is Dayton.
Yeah.
Probably
campus.
because, is it smaller? Is it like a smaller institution?
It is, but it isn't. I think that we're smaller than the big guys, like the Indiana universities, a little bit smaller than I think Purdue, maybe same size, but smaller than Ohio State. And they call it the public Ivy League school of the Midwest.
Okay.
So,
cool.
I know.
I think everybody's smaller than Ohio State.
Right, exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. So then you said you went to St. George?
Yeah, I went to St. George University. I found it actually through a med school talk I went to in undergrad. I thought, I got to look for some alternatives. I know this is what I want to do. I know that some people just reapply the next year, but I wasn't willing to wait too much time. I had some friends that had waited a couple years to get into to veterinary school. And so when I found St. George's and heard the rave reviews, I went there. It was amazing.
So what was that like going? Did you spend tell everybody about how much time you spend there and how it's different from staying in state?
Yeah, it's very similar as far as the setup goes, but it's a very different lifestyle, obviously, because it's in Grenada, West Indies, so it's 90 miles north of Trinidad and Tobago in South America, so it's really far down there in the Caribbean. It is a fantastic school and beautiful campus, but it is different. There's things like, poverty in that country, but I always felt very safe personally, and I always felt like it was great to get to know another culture and get to know other people.
So do you spend all 4 years there?
So 3 years are on the island
Okay.
in Grenada, and then you do 1 year stateside, or you can go to another university around the world depending on where you're from. And you can go over to another university in another place in the world if you choose to, but it would be not covered by your federal funding, so that changes things. So I went stateside to the University of Georgia for fourth year.
Okay. And does that school have relationships with different schools in the United States, or you can go to any veterinary school for their 4th year?
So they have relationships, but I think it excludes like 2 schools within the United States. So you could have pretty much your pick. And if it's not on the list, they found opportunities. Like Texas A&M wasn't on the list, but I had 2 classmates that wanted to go there, and they found spots for them, and they went ahead and put them there for 4th year.
So they go there for 4th year, and then at the end of 4th year, you graduate with that class?
You graduate with that class, yeah.
Okay.
But you do have a St. George's University degree.
Okay.
But still you graduate with that class.
That's really cool that they've set that up that way, that you can still take that path to still accomplish the same thing.
Yeah.
So do you think that people view it differently than going to all veterinary school, like say at University of Georgia, doing all your education in Georgia versus doing something like going to St. George and then going to Georgia for your last year? Do you feel like it was viewed differently, or do you feel like there was any kind of
pushback,
negativity about that type of program?
That's one of the biggest questions I get from anybody that's interested in going to a school that's non-traditional, off out of the country, offshores. I think personally I did not have a negative experience from all the professors I met at the University of Georgia through applying for jobs, internships, things like that. I didn't have really any pushback. I feel like a very fortunate person, but I think to what the advice I usually give any student, and if they're looking for an alternative, is it doesn't matter where you went to school. It doesn't matter, as long as it's an accredited university. It just matters how hard you've worked when you've gotten there.
Right.
Because if you put in the time, you can get a lot out of anywhere where you go.
Yeah.
And I think that I personally had a really positive experience, but when I showed up for my 4th year and I was ready to go into clinics, I didn't know where the bathroom was. I didn't know where the labs were, but it means you just have to work that much harder to make sure that you catch up with the other class. And so I think that speaks to people that go to some of the island schools being able to be successful, is that you're super versatile, super flexible, and able to jump in there and really figure it out.
I would think that those students have characteristics that are good for employers, you know what I mean? So being accommodating, but then also moldable, like you can just go with the flow, and you figure, which is a lot of veterinary medicine.
Yeah, kind of like the silver spoon versus like the scrapper.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, veterinary medicine in general as a field or
true.
as an industry, you do have to adapt, because you're not going to fix the same problem the same way every time necessarily.
Yeah.
And so being able to adapt and move from one thing to another, I could see where that would be a huge benefit.
I wonder too if like a lot of graduate programs, if it matters not so much where you went to school after a period of time being out of school. Like 5 years, if your skill set is up where it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I would look less on that and say, what's your experience since then? Now, I could see like right out of school, just like anything, if you go to Harvard, Yale, Stanford versus, those kinds of things. But generally speaking, what you do afterward defines you much more so than what you did, where you went to school.
That's a good point too. That's a really good
absolutely.
point.
What was it when you were growing up that made you want to pursue veterinary medicine?
Oh yeah, you asked that too. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have always cliche. I have always loved animals. I've always loved taking care of them. Then when I got to high school, I fell in love with science, and so kind of putting those two together equaled veterinary medicine.
Veterinary medicine,
so,
yeah.
And kind of a little cliche, but
No, that's. Did you do all where you've worked before? You've always done large animal. So, and you're part of the Equine Practitioners right, Association. So, when you were growing up, did you have horses? Did you So you grew up with horses and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when I was really little, we lived on a cattle farm, and we had horses too. And then when we actually moved into the city, and I actually went to a bilingual elementary school until 6th grade, and so we did like 3 hours of English and 3 hours of Spanish until 6th grade, and so it was kind of a big change, but we had our horses board, and then we moved back out to the country and took our horses with us.
Okay.
It was kind of weird.
No, that's very cool.
That's neat,
Yeah, that's very cool. So how do you see large animal medicine changing? How has it changed, and how do you see it changing? Like, I had a high school student, who said he was interested in pursuing large animal medicine as a career. And, I paused for because I'm like, it seems like it's evolving such that you have less and less people pursuing it.
That's true.
Like Dr. Herman, who just sent out a letter saying he wasn't going to do large animal anymore because he wanted to spend time with his family. How have you seen it change over time, and what do you see for it for the future?
Yeah, I think even since I've graduated, horses are becoming more and more of a companion animal, but just grouping large animals together, the emergency calls that you have to do are very different than a small animal position most of the time. I feel like with small animal, there are emergency clinics, so there's less emergency work because there are those support clinics.
Right.
We do live in a really fortunate area for large animal because we have Purdue University and Centaur, which would do emergency medicine, but I would say that that it's just the time aspect of having to travel between, calls and the emergency calls that you get. That can be a little bit of a different lifestyle than doing small animal. Small animal can be long hours too, but I think it just kind of depends on how it's set up. Large animal medicine is also a little more physical. Definitely. I enjoyed that part of it, but some days it was a little rougher than others. But I think that large animal medicine is changing in a way that the horses are becoming a little bit more of a companion animal. And I feel like the people that are going to do cattle, it's becoming more of like the veterinarians that travel to each facility, like a reproduction veterinarian. This veterinarian does this, and a lot of the people that I've met that do cattle do a lot of their own work.
Yeah.
Unless they need a specialist for something.
Okay.
Same with the sheep and goats too. I've seen that too.
Yeah.
It's
so
not
the
as
people
traditional.
that have the animals are taking care of them like from a herd health standpoint, and then when you have issues and you need repo work or you need whatever, then you call in somebody that actually has a specialty in that.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I've seen a lot of. So it's not necessarily the traditional mixed animal veterinarian that's
who's just
coming
going out.
Those are less and less common.
Right. Yeah. Because I would think financially for the veterinarian, it would be hard too, right? I mean, the calls and whatnot because of the cost to the owner of the animal or the herd. They're going to pursue anything to decrease their cost, right? I mean, or the expense on their, So I'm sure that's hard.
I think that is. I think that's hard for those owners because they're always trying to increase their yield and their production. Yeah, you're right. Totally.
This may be a dumb question, but are there operations that are large enough that warrant like a staff veterinarian or someone that's on staff full time?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, when I worked in Lexington, Kentucky, there were quite a few equine facilities, so big horse stables that had their own veterinarian that either could live on premise or lived nearby, and they were their veterinarian, but they were on call 24/7. That meant if they need a health certificate to cross state lines on Sunday evening, you wrote a health certificate on Sunday evening to cross state lines.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, very cool.
It's different.
It's totally different. Yeah, I mean, do you think that the veterinary schools that are doing tracking, so like the student has to pick what they're doing, do you see that as a plus or a negative or kind of a combination of both? Or do you think that they should be doing everything and then deciding once they've done everything?
That's a good question because I don't know if there's like a right answer to that, but personally I was mixed animal all the way through, so I felt very comfortable if I worked in small animal, and I felt decently comfortable any type of large animal, and I even had a little bit of exotics experience. So if I saw something, I wasn't going to be so intimidated by it. So personally I felt like that was a really good way to do it. But I think some people that want to follow a certain track, it can be beneficial. Like let's say you want to be a small animal surgeon, it could be beneficial for you to take more
classes. Yeah, that's
in
what
your fourth year. Spend more time.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. I mean, like if you really, really know that's what you're going to do, then having the extra time to not have to take large animal ambulatory, I was always of the mindset, and maybe that's just because that was in front of you, and so that's what you told yourself, but we learned everything at Tennessee. So we just, basically I told myself, well, I can adapt whatever I'm learning in this situation, it will benefit me later because I'll learn how to manage this or this type of client or this type of problem, even though it may not be on a horse or a cow or whatever. I still can extrapolate information and use it somehow on small animal, or whatever I was going to be doing. And so, but I definitely, for my classmates, I know they would have really liked probably to have some of them, like Jeff, who's a board certified surgeon. He probably would have really loved to just have surgery, like 3 extra surgery classes or whatever, to further his skill set. So yeah, it's fascinating.
It is. I remember in my small animal surgery rotation, the soft tissue one, I learned so much about suturing that I could use it in my, suturing large animals. I learned pretty much all of my suturing skills
from there.
From that rotation. I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's probably fairly typical for people to specialize like that in those curriculums versus the overall approach. I mean, years ago, like in business schools, you would just get a degree in business. I mean, but then they started, we did accounting, finance, whatever, econ or whatever. So I'm sure that's probably a trend that's going to continue. Maybe they'll have a harder track, and so, more places will offer that, I think.
I think so too.
Over time.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
From an efficiency standpoint.
Away. Yep.
And I do have a friend that actually is she's not a close friend, but someone that I know and I've come across a few times. She is a large animal surgeon that is doing a fellowship now in small animal surgery. So there are people, I think, that cross over both ways.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting.
What other factors do you think are contributing to people maybe choosing not to go do large animal? Is there any economics, money? Okay.
Money. I think that just financially, you can't see as many appointments when you're traveling from appointment to appointment as you can doing small animal. That being said, if you do see a horse in like a high concentrated horse area, Lexington, Kentucky is a good example, you can see 50 different clients at one facility because they have all of the breeding mares at one facility. So in that situation, you can definitely be more efficient, and seeing more. But when I've done large animal before, the radius would be an hour and a half, and an hour, more than 60 miles. And so driving from one place to another, if I only did 3 appointments that day, maybe because the distance was just so huge.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I would say that it's a lot financially.
Yeah.
Just because I think you're going to see more and more if people want to do large animal, they're working in facilities.
Right.
Yeah.
Or for organizations that are, because you just can't pay. I mean, the employer can't pay the veterinarian what they need to be paid, and
because the revenue
it's like a trickle down.
Right.
I mean, so I think that's why you're seeing more and more of the owners of the animals do their work.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
That's true too. And then I have seen a wave of the horses are traveling to the vet too.
To the vet, yeah.
They're doing that a lot more too, which is
helpful for the veterinarian at least.
Yeah. That's helpful.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how things, trends that switch and kind of go back and forth, and that efficiency gain, like you mentioned, kind of a very decentralized model where you have the veterinarians visiting here versus then you have a concentration of the organizations, and the veterinarian's actually there all the time, which is more efficient than traveling,
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the waves of trends in business. I mean, you have very decentralized models that then gravitate to the centralized models. Years ago, you had a lot of mom and pop grocery stores. Now, not so much. You have the big players that come in and consolidate. So,
do you think that'll change too in the future? You think it'll just keep changing?
In veterinary medicine, I think for sure. I think that you'll have, whereas years ago, a lot of startups, a lot of just hang my shingle out and see what happens. I think now, with a lot of corporate players in the market, it becomes more difficult, because you're competing with comp packages, you're competing price, and so where they've got economies of scale and they can make margin because they've got larger buying power. They can buy things for a lot less. I think that'll become much more common as you see those groups come in and gobble up all the independents. But that happens in every industry. Years ago, you had independent drugstores. Now, almost none. So that's just what happens. And then the drugstores get gobbled up by the big box stores. So it's just kind of the way things go. And then somebody will have a niche that they'll break that niche out and say, well, I want to be a Joe's Butcher Shop. I want to just cater to this particular segment. I compete with Kroger, Walmart, but this is what I offer. So you always have those offshoot kind of boutique things, but I think centralization is always kind of the default trend. So
Well, I think veterinary medicine. Yes, Harrison?
Let's say we have a comment from Michelle Algier.
Yes.
Algier. Hi, Dr. Jones. Mel says, hi, I am much better. Thank you.
Melvin Algier. You treated him for, I think he was painful, like
Yay,
Friday or something. Yeah.
I'm so glad he feels better.
Yes. Michelle's
glad.
been a client forever. So
Oh,
hope
I'm
you're
so
doing
glad.
okay, Michelle.
I'm so glad Melvin's better. Yay!
Yay. Oh, it's good. I saw him on the callback list for Michaela Maloney today. So
Yay!
yeah,
I'm
that's
so
good.
glad.
Okay.
He was pretty painful, poor little guy.
There was something I was going to ask you or say. Oh, I think the veterinary industry itself is very what's the word I'm looking for? Attractive.
Oh,
No,
attractive.
it's attractive to because it's stable for the
Yeah.
most part. I mean, it's pretty stable, and so I think that's why it's attractive to other places and why you get these groups of companies coming in and buying them because their investors want to put their money places, and so
especially in these volatile times. I think that's what's interesting is that you'll look at veterinary medicine's interesting in that a pretty stable client base. I mean, it's a very diversified client base. It's not like you have a company, with one client makes up 60% of your revenue base. I mean, it's very, very diverse, and I think because of that, it's very stable.
Yeah.
To your point, and as dogs are, companion animals are considered more and more parts of the family,
Yeah.
members of the family. I think that priorities are skew towards that. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. That's why they're so attractive.
Yeah, and
now.
I think that if you practice medicine the right way and you take care of your clients the right way, then it's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
I mean, you keep the animals around for the people as long as possible, which improves their lives, and then,
That's so
you have
true.
you have great clients to work with. You have good patient care. I mean, it's just a win all
Sure.
the way across the board. But I think that's why it's so attractive, probably to organizations. Is just it's stable.
It'd be fascinating to talk to a veterinarian that's been doing this for decades, long like since the 70s, and say, well, how have things changed? I remember growing up, everybody had a dog, but none of the dogs were inside. They were all outside. We were in the country, but
Yeah.
nobody
That's because you
did
grew up
that.
in Tennessee.
Yeah, I know, but it's just interesting how that's different. It's very different now.
And then he met me, and I had my dog inside, and he was like, "What are you doing?"
It's a true story. I was like, what?
It's so funny.
He's like, "Your dog stays inside." Yep, she sure does. Oh, and she sits on my bed. What?
A lot.
Oh gosh, yeah. The stories of what Richie learned about veterinary medicine.
Oh yeah, it's lots of funny stories. A lot of yeah.
So yeah, he's gone from only dogs living outside to having 3 dogs and a cat and
No, it's 3 dogs and 2 cats.
3 dogs, 2 cats. And
I never had a dog growing
never
up, ever.
Yeah,
Never had a dog growing up. I mean, and we just didn't, there was
your
no
grandparents
occasion.
did.
Well, yeah, my grandparents had a German Shepherd. But even the German Shepherd, they had him for years, and there's one day he just never came home. It's just one of those things, it's just, they're like,
Yeah.
well, something, And that's just like, eh.
So now he's got all of his kids like animals. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So now he's got
Aw.
animals everywhere, little pocket pets.
Yeah. Yeah, Calvin.
It's been quite a shift.
Calvin went through this thing recently where he wanted a hedgehog.
Oh
Remember
yes.
that?
Oh god.
And he goes,
yes,
I want a
that-
hedgehog. And then he came to us the other day. He goes, Dad, I can't get a hedgehog. Don't you remember that?
Yeah, because he was trying to decide between a hedgehog and a hamster, and I'm like, we didn't say we were getting anything. But he's like, which one do you think I should get, a hedgehog or a hamster? And then Madeline, when we were all together, Madeline was like, take a survey and see what everyone says. So he went around and he's like, if you could pick a hedgehog or a hamster, which one would you pick? And so all of us were like, hedgehog, hedgehog, hedgehog. So he got in his brain that he wanted a hedgehog. Well, he had to get 2,000 followers on something. I don't know what he was working on. And so I was like, you have to have followers. He came back to me in 24 hours and he's like, I think you said likes, right? I had to have 2,000 likes. And I was like, no, I didn't. I said 2,000 followers. So he was like, okay, but didn't you really say likes? And I was like, no, I did not say likes. I said followers. And so he decided at that point he was going to get a hedgehog. So a hedgehog was going to be it. When he got his 2,000 followers, which is probably going to be never, but that's okay. So he was, working on that or whatever, and so then he came in the other day. But why did he say he couldn't get the hedgehog?
I don't remember. I just remember it was kind of like, quiet reservation. Like, oh, I guess I can't get a hedgehog. But I don't remember why.
Yeah, it was something
Some
about
reason.
the hedgehog. Oh no, you can't find them.
Oh.
That's what it was. He had done
Oh.
research to figure out where he was going to buy said hedgehog,
Right.
and you can't get them. You just can't find them right now, is what he had said.
Huh.
There was something he read that said they're not available. And I was like, bummer.
I know, right? Darn.
Yeah, so.
Calvin keeps us entertained.
Yeah,
that's
adorable.
That's for sure.
Oh, we have 2 guinea pigs.
Oh, do you really?
Mm-hmm. We have 2 guinea pigs. And we had one, but then we found out because, I had to do my research because I hadn't thought about guinea pigs in a long time. They need a buddy.
Yes.
So we had to get a buddy for the guinea pigs. So we have 2 guinea pigs.
Yeah, because once you know they need a buddy, then if you didn't get one, you were going to have all kinds of problems. It's like all the stuff they chew on them, don't they like do all kinds of bad stuff? Yeah. So does your daughter like the guinea pigs?
She does, but she said she would feed them every day, and she said that she would get them water, but she does probably a couple times a week.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been through that before.
So you're taking care of the guinea pigs. Okay, got it. Yes.
Holden actually has 2 sugar gliders, and
oh, how cute.
even though they're in his room, I still have to remind him to clean that darn cage regularly. Because you're walking in, I was like, bro, you sleep in here. You need to clean this. Good God. Did your girlfriend say something? Come on.
They're pretty low maintenance, so they're not too bad as far as a routine for him.
Yeah, they're really good. He's actually, I mean, to his credit, he's done very well. He's very he attends to them very, very nicely.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
That's
very
great.
meticulous though about.
Yeah,
he's
he does
very
this.
He's like, yeah.
Cleaning's the only. If there were a drawback in terms of where he might be not be doing it, that's it. But that's minor. It's not a big deal.
Well,
but he loves them.
good.
We don't quite know what's going to happen if he goes off to college next year.
Yeah, Calvin thinks
Oh,
they're going to
no.
his room. So.
I don't know if I'd do that.
Yeah,
The
no.
last 5 minutes.
Yep. They'll be out of the cage.
Just be
somewhere.
gone in somebody's belly or something.
When I was an associate at Kreider Veterinary Clinic in South Bend, Dr. Kreider worked on, like, he would do some exotic stuff, and he had a sugar glider in the hospital for something. And if I remember this correctly, it stayed overnight, but it escaped.
Oh, no.
And he had a guy that cleaned every night, would come in and clean. He
Yeah.
was a super nice guy. He would come in after everybody left and he would clean. And he said that he could hear the sugar glider because, they come out at night. And so somehow they figured out, I don't remember what they did, but they figured out how to bring him back to his crate, and they recaptured him.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
gosh.
So, I was like, that's a nice call to an owner.
Right? We had him not so much anymore.
I don't remember how Don handled that, but I'm sure it was well, and he figured it out, and yeah, so.
They're really cool looking.
How big are they?
Oh, they're
Well,
tiny.
they're only about like this big.
Oh, how
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
tiny.
like lengthwise, their tail, they're probably like this long, but I mean,
Oh, how
it's
cute.
like a ground squirrel.
Aw.
A little smaller probably than a ground squirrel.
Oh, how
And they are
cute.
quick.
So yeah, they're fast.
It's unbelievable how fast they are jumping around the cage.
And they look like they're going to be so nice to you, but then I still think they would bite you, like, because they don't know us as well. So
Right.
we have to feed them sometimes if Holden's not there. And so you can see Richie and I were like, all right, hold the treat over here, and they'll come over. Like if we don't feed them early enough that they're still sleeping.
Oh, then they get out.
So then they're awake
wake up, rather.
when you put the food in, which then they want to come out because, they want to come out and see you. Well, I don't know if I could capture them to put them back in.
Right.
And so I'm like holding treats on the far end of the cage so they go over there so Richie can put the food in over here. It's really funny. But
They make a weird noise when we first got them.
Yeah.
When they're scared, it's really strange.
yeah, it's like
haven't
this
heard it.
chirping, loud
It's like a
chirping.
growl. It's like something out of a bad movie. It's weird.
Yeah. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they are. Yeah. He's really enjoyed having them, and they're neat to watch. And is their name from Australia?
Oh gosh, I don't remember
I don't
I
either.
think
what
they
he
are.
found. What he did the research on them. I don't remember.
But it's
off the top of
interesting
my head.
because people raised them when he was looking for them, and they actually they were shipped to us.
From Texas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Texas.
Oh, wow.
Overnighted, and you had to go pick them up. I mean, they were shipped in a special container and everything. But yeah, they did that, and it's bigger business than I thought. I had no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not cheap. So, but it's cool. It's been a good experience for him in terms of responsibility, things like that.
Oh, that's good.
Is there what's their names? Toast and
Rio.
Rio and Toast. That's
Oh.
it.
That's cute.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
But they love him. They got out of their cage one day, and he woke up, and they were on his pillow. Remember that? Yeah. One was on his
Oh,
pillow,
they love him.
and they were just staring at him. He's like, "What are you doing out of the cage?"
Yeah, he felt one of them, I think, on his like head or something. And so then,
Yeah.
it woke him up.
He's gonna have to take them to college with him,
Oh, God. Yeah, he thinks he's having an apartment when he goes to college, and so he can take
so he
them.
can have sugar gliders.
No, you're not.
No, yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
He may be going to college in his bedroom.
Exactly.
Please
That's
don't
what
let
There
the
you
way it
go.
goes right now.
There
Yeah,
you go.
exactly. Yeah, you may be.
Which might be cheaper. That is your dorm room, buddy.
Exactly.
What happens? It's in my
Welcome
house.
to your dorm room.
And those are your suite mates.
So, okay. What other questions do we have for Dr. Jones today?
Oh boy.
I've got one other one as far as like, what do you like about All Star as far as after coming here, working for a little bit, what are some of the things that you value that after spending time here a little bit?
I guess after spending some, like, I guess 6-8 weeks, we said.
Yes.
6-8 weeks. I still can't get over how well the staff function together, how well everyone gets along, and how supportive everyone is of each other. That is that's amazing. That's unlike anywhere I have ever seen before.
Oh, that's good. They work hard at that, or we work hard at that. Everybody works hard at that. I think that that's a big component to the practice being successful.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people can feel that when they walk in the clinic. The clients can feel that when they walk in the clinic. You can tell when you walk in a place and it's happy, and when people are happy inside the place versus when you walk in a place and people are downtrodden and upset and mad. And so I think that it speaks to everyone and how they contribute to the culture, because they really do and have bought into the notion that their success is also someone else being successful.
Sure.
So, and that they don't win by someone else failing, and so I think that that's been a big, and they all are about making somebody else successful. So it's really fun to watch because they grow. And so because they're in that environment and they are constantly helping each other improve, then you can see growth over time. And with everything happening with the whole COVID thing and all the adjustments we had to make, their ability to change and then what they learned from that and how they grew themselves, because they were working in groups independently initially. And there was no other person you could ask sometimes. Right. It was like, you were it. You were the RVT in that group. And so, just being able to put them into that position and then watch them evolve, it's been really fun.
Which is intentional too. I think one of our core missions is to make people better while they're here. So when
wonderful.
if they go somewhere else, that they're a better asset than they would have otherwise been to their next employer or whatever that next experience is. And I think it's I guess we take a lot of that from ourselves, because I am always reading, trying to learn. I mean, that kind of constant chase to be great, constant chase to be better. That's what makes it interesting, because otherwise I think you can get stagnant where if you just do the same thing over and over and over all the time, without that kind of quest for greatness, that's, a bit wordy, but yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah,
that's
for
wonderful.
Sure. So good. I'm glad you feel that. That's important.
And people have remarked that. I've had clients come in, people that I see, and I had one in particular say, she's been coming for years, pretty much since we opened, and she said, it was Michelle, and she said, it just always feels like people enjoy being there.
Oh,
the
that's
employees,
nice.
which is great. That means that culture is really permeated, and is people they notice it. It's self-evident, so it's cool.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
wonderful.
So, what are some of the things that you had mentioned when we were reading your bio, as far as some of the things you really like about small animal medicine? What are your favorite things that you like to, learn extra about or do or whatnot?
Yeah. Right now, I'm really enjoying learning about dentistry. That is something I've really tried to focus on a lot, because there is so much to learn about dentistry in general. And we do a lot of dentals here, and I've really enjoyed it. So I'm really trying to continue to master skills and continue to just learn. And then, just we do a lot of procedures. We do a lot of the surgeries. We do a lot of the medicine workups, and that's been really enjoyable too. Just kind of always learning from cases and expanding our knowledge base. It's really been fun.
Yeah, we did something on Friday night when we had, I guess I can say it. Who cares? I mean, beer,
we were done.
We were done. We called Beer Friday. And so occasionally, she's like, don't say that out loud.
Well, we were done. No
we were done
here.
with work.
After hours.
And this is part of our camaraderie.
Sure.
I mean, so periodically we sit down and rehash some of our things. And one of the things we sat down and did on Friday night was we were like, Dudley's been keeping the zebra list, what we call a zebra list. So like we laugh because she's the one who sees all these like freaking unusual cases, like
right.
things that you just don't see. You may not see in a lifetime of being a veterinarian.
Right.
And so we took it and we chatted. We were all chatting about it. And we wrote them on the wall, because there are so many, and thankfully our clients are so invested in the healthcare of their pets and wanting to do the best by their pets, up, to their ability to do the best by their pets, that we are fortunate enough to work these cases up. I mean, we have cases that, again, internists only see, like board certified internists only see. And so we were writing them on the wall. And it is fascinating that, that we've had that kind of exposure, whereas some other facilities or other locations in the country, we might not be as fortunate, to be able to work up those cases, which really adds enjoyment, to your job. And so with the types of clients that we have and them wanting to know, they want to know the underlying problem or the underlying answer. They want an answer. And so speaking to your point of, we've had to work up these cases, and we all work closely enough together that we all learn from each other and in our cases that we have. But it was fun because we just kept writing on the wall all these cases that are the zebra list or whatever, or things we've never seen. And so it was really fascinating.
That is cool. You think it's a dumb question maybe, but do you think it's just this facility, or do you think that's like across the county? In your experience in your other clinics, is that the case? Do you get unusual cases regularly or no?
I mean, maybe just because, you have yes and no. I'd say yes and no. It just depended. There were some great cases and some great clients, and I think that here we do have a high volume of cases.
Doesn't it seem like there's just so many weird
a high volume, which is great. I mean, that's great. I think because you have people that are so willing to get to the bottom of the problem, to the root of the cause. Yeah. So I think that it's been a good thing.
Yeah, awesome. It makes it a lot of fun to be the veterinarian, in those situations. It's equally as frustrating sometimes for the veterinarian as the owner, as you're navigating those things, but so rewarding once you do come up with the answer.
There's those
like
memes
that last piece of the puzzle that so
that's cool.
Very cool.
Like the meme that says, I promise I'm not charging extra for waking up in the middle of the night thinking about your case.
Exactly. Yeah, that happens a lot. I always tell people, I'm like, if I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about you, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah.
Lisa Sidner commented saying, Hamilton, handful of a Maine Coon kitten. He was a real mystery, and you all worked super hard to get us answers. Contacting specialist coworkers, Purdue. Great job.
Yes, he was. His
cool.
main. Oh my gosh,
cool guy.
His lymph nodes with his stuff and his split. Oh yeah, we went round and round trying to figure out what was going on with him. There was several of us involved in that. That's for sure.
He's a great.
He's a very cool cat, though. Yeah,
very cool guy.
Absolutely.
Very handsome.
So, do you want to ask now that we're close to after 11:30? I know Dr. Jones has to get back to appointments. So, do you want to ask our final?
Sure. We close all the podcasts with one last question. And that last question is, if you could go back and speak to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them?
That's a tough question. I think I would tell myself that you don't want to know the future. It's going to be great. Just keep going. Just keep doing what you're doing. Don't worry about what the end result's going to be. Enjoy what you're doing while you're doing it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Very good. That was a very good answer.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Good job. I know, because I didn't give it to you like far in advance. So that was very thoughtful. Oh. That is so true, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want a magic 8-ball or a crystal ball to know.
I even want it now.
Right. I'm like, I need to be telling myself this every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think as I get older, I look back and I'll think to myself, you're probably in the spot you're supposed to be right now. That's okay.
I love that.
I mean, don't worry about the process necessarily. Just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the beauty and the joy of the moment and where you're supposed to be at this moment. So
that's great.
And just let the other stuff will work out how it's going to work out.
Exactly.
I try and think about how like my grandparents would answer that question, and I think that's probably what they would say, something like that.
That's
just
nice.
enjoy it, enjoy your kids, and because it goes by quick.
It does.
Very quick.
It goes by fast. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely, especially when you're having fun.
Right.
So, all right, everybody. Well, we will wrap up this episode of the podcast today. Don't forget, you can check us out every Monday, most times between 10:30 and 11, and on any of the podcast channels, iTunes or services, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts.
Stitcher.
What?
Stitcher. Or we're not on Stitcher, probably aren't. Do we not on Stitcher, Harry?
I don't even know what Stitcher is. Anyway, Don't forget to check out aspcmerch.com where you can find cool shirts. We have short sleeves. We have socks. We have a bunch of cool stuff on there.
Stock up for the winter. It will get cold again.
Yeah,
it will get cold again.
Eventually.
Oh, look at you advertising the socks. Okay, way to go, Jones. And I'd like to thank you for being on the podcast today and take time out of your busy day on a Monday.
Thanks for having
me. To share everything with everybody. So this is this episode of Five Boys in Business, and we'll see you next time. I'm Dr. King.
I'm Richie King.
And I'm Jessica Jones.
Have a good day, everybody.
We're out.